Welcome to the Women Inspire Aspire podcast. In this episode, I talked to Mansi Joshee about crafts discovery. Hi, Mansi. Thanks a lot for accepting my invite to appear in the podcast. How are you doing today?
Hi, Venkat. Thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm really excited to be here and looking forward to a wonderful, insightful discussion with you today.
Awesome, awesome. So, why don't you get started and tell a bit about yourself, your background, what you do, etc.?
Like most women these days, I also wear many hats. I'm Mansi Joshee, a mother, a wife, a recent empty nester, an entrepreneur, an Airbnb host, an occasional cook, a terrible gardener, a lover of Hindi films. I enjoy traveling. My guilty pleasure is chocolates late at night.
Okay. Is that the dark chocolate or
Well, dark is the preferred one, but I'm happy to go with anything as long as it's not milk. I can't stand milk chocolates.
Oh, I see. Okay. So many hats. I really look forward to exploring those. First, let's talk a bit about your profession, whatever you are
Yeah,
doing.
yeah. So, in anybody who's familiar with business speak and corporate speak, there is this word that is often used very commonly these days. It's called pivot, right? Pivot just means basically you turn everything around. And I think professionally, if I look back on my career of almost 20 plus years, it's been a series of pivots. I started out with a college called MICA, where I specialized in advertising and media planning. And for the first 10 years of my professional life, I used to work multiple advertising agencies, some of the top ones in the country. Then I pivoted to working with the development sector, where I worked with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, WHO, the World Bank, etc. So my first 10 years gave me sort of an insight into the world of media plannings, of numbers, of consumers, of insights, of analytics, and the corporate world. Whereas my second stint in the development and multilateral sector actually gave me a perspective on communication strategies, on advocacy, on the soft power which is needed for effecting change, for building coalitions, for building stakeholder alignments, working in the space of renewable energy, clean water, wash, etc. And my third pivot is where I am currently, which is where all of it has come to naught, uh, being an entrepreneur. And in this space of being an entrepreneur is somewhere where I think, in many ways, is what I'd like to believe the best of me combines, which is both commerce and creativity. So I am an entrepreneur, but the product that I work with, or the area that I work with, really works with celebrating beautiful things, celebrating the handmade, celebrating India's craftsmanship. I run a boutique artisanal store called Khoj Crafts, where we actually do a lot of storytelling about some of India's finest and lesser known crafts, and we also retail them. This has been probably the most fulfilling part of my professional career, where today we started around 3.5 years, 4 years back. And today, when I look back, 5,000 customers, 35% customers, return customer rate, people buying up to 40, 50,000 rupees online without knowing us, without seeing us, and hopefully building the semblance of a brand which is rooted in the storytelling of India's crafts. So I'm very excited about where I stand professionally today.
That's wonderful. That's great to hear. Actually, I would like to know more about the storytelling part of India that is linked to the crafts. So maybe you can talk a bit about what kind of storytelling you do and how you go about it.
Thanks, Venkat. I mean, of course, I can go on and on about it, but I will try to keep it short. India is, of course, like a plethora of, it's actually, when you look at India's crafts, I always feel it's like a It's like a river of consciousness. There are so many little streams which are feeding into this broad, large, surging river of creativity, narrative, religion, aesthetic, rituals. It's combined with so many things. The strands are so many, the waves are so many, and there are constantly things feeding into it even today. We're constantly evolving those crafts, modernizing those crafts, reworking those crafts. Some are falling by the wayside, but still there are ways in which we are trying to revive them and rejuvenate them. So if I look at the storytelling of India's crafts, there is so much to be told. But we run a brand called Khoj. Now, if one sort of unboxes the word Khoj, it actually means a search, it means a journey, it means a discovery. And that is exactly what the brand aims to do. It is a search and a discovery for India's finest crafts. So we are not linked to any one single craft, but our whole ideology and our brand philosophy is all about discovering India's crafts and bringing them to the fore and showcases them. For example, recently we did a series of paintings on something called Thikri. Thikri is a relatively lesser known art of India. It's the art which is used to do the mirror work palaces in Rajasthan, in Jaipur, in Udaipur. A total of 10 or 12 palaces of Rajasthan have this mirror work. So the ceilings, the walls, the columns all have these small mosaic like mirror pieces which have been embedded. It's incredibly royal and regal art because it was such a time consuming art, and there are very few karigars who are left to do that. So over a period of time we have discovered old Thikri paintings, revived the art, spoken about it, and sort of built an awareness and the sensitivity to it. So that one part is one part of our craft. If I look at another part of it, it's about Indian religion, like Ganesha, Ganeshji, Ganesh, Ganpati, all the various names are in it. For example, if you see the trunk of Ganeshji is actually symbolizes whether it should be placed in a mandir or it should be placed in a home. So when the Ganesh trunk is curved towards the left, is great for the house because it is believed to bring stability, prosperity, calmness to a home. But when it goes towards the right, it is supposed to be kept in a temple because that Ganeshji is supposed to be extremely powerful, very strong energy. And therefore, if you do not please it and sort of look after it intensively on a daily basis, it is not considered the best one for the house. So the Siddhi Vinayak, for example, in the Siddhi Vinayak temple, the Ganeshji has the trunk which is towards the right. So there, that is another form which is symbolism used in Indian crafts. So we try to build all these stories together and create a sensitivity so that when people see a piece of art, when people see a piece of mythology, they are able to build a greater sensitivity and greater appreciation for what is in front of them.
Great, wonderful.
And if I was to look at the softer side of them, most likely they're the ones who would appreciate beautiful saris and handlooms and sort of have a strong aesthetic of their own, enjoy the customs and the diversity of India, and a certain appreciation of the finer things of life. But it is what women want, really.
That's really interesting to know. Okay, so we have talked a lot about your work. Now let's talk about your hobbies and interests, the things that you do apart from work, things that you really like doing or plan to do, and things like that.
These days everybody says that they do love travel and they do love hospitality. So many years ago, we had bought a a beautiful villa in a small fishing village in Goa. It was way beyond our budget, but we just fell in love with the property. And to sort of make the property work and to hope that we could help with keeping it somehow running, made it into an Airbnb around 4 to 5 years back. And that's again a source of great pride and joy for me when people come and stay there. It's lovely to see people enjoying it because it captures many of the things that I love: small places, happy places, beautifully crafted, slow living. I enjoy Bollywood quizzing quite a lot. I'm a collector of costume jewelry. Over a period of time, I do enjoy reading a lot. Earlier, I used to read a lot more fiction. Now, I have switched a little more to philosophy and self help books. I also enjoy podcasts, which is why I'm glad to be featured on one. I do enjoy, and I think my greatest love possibly is walking. I love walking. I try to walk 10,000 steps, but I really love discovering new cities by walking. I love taking walking tours in cities that I've gone, and some of the best ways. Calcutta has fantastic walking tours. Europe, of course, is brilliant for walking tours. I mean, I think it's my favorite ways to travel and explore any city is through a walking tour. So, love traveling, love reading, very average cook, but collector of souvenirs and things beautiful.
Okay, wonderful. Let's switch gears and talk about some societal issues that you care about, the things that bother you, and you want to do something about it, and you're thinking or planning about doing something about it, those kind of stuff.
Thanks, Venkat, for sort of giving this platform for all of us to talk about something which is dear to us and something which we would like to raise some degree of awareness about. As I mentioned earlier, that I am an empty nester. My daughter has just left for college. She was a teenager when COVID hit, and those years were particularly challenging for all adolescents because almost 2.5 years of their life, they lost the ability to socialize and move out, etc. And it's impacted different people in different ways, not just adolescents. I mean, there are huge health, physical, mental, the whole disease took on various people. But I think adolescents, particularly, were badly affected by it. I did not realize it, but almost 2 years after COVID was over is when I realized that so many adolescents are hiding issues of anxiety, mental wellness, ability to cope, resilience, just a huge breakdown in their mental well being. And it is really impacting them. At that point of time, and so many of them are indulging in behaviors that is so scary and worrying for all caregivers and parents around them, whether it is self harm or crazy amounts of social media scrolling or affected by peer pressure. I mean, so many different things. And as I started going into this thing a little more deeply and started to see how we can help our children and how we can help adolescents deal and cope with these kind of things. And I realized that mental wellness and mental anxiety has a strong relationship with nutrition and nutritional deficiency. Therefore, if you are nutritionally deficient in certain vitamins and minerals, it actually impacts your mental health and wellness. I'm not saying it's the only reason, but there are so many factors. And this is one of the smallest factors, but you can help to control it. And I have seen the difference that how nutrition can actually impact and improve a person's well-being. So if you are deficient in a vitamin D, how it affects your concentration, how it affects your energy levels. If you are deficient in iron, how lethargic you can become, how prone to depression and low moods you can become, how omega 3 is important, B12 is important for your nerve health, for the mental stability. So I wish that more parents and more people were aware that nutrition has a huge impact on your mental well-being. It can impact your anxiety levels. It can help to combat them. It can help to reduce the symptoms. It can help you with coping much better. And I don't want to take it out into the world, because everybody talks about therapy and unlocking mental health, but nobody talks about this small intervention, which is so simple to do and yet can have a much larger effect on kids. So I'm very keen to talk about that part of it and bring awareness about that.
Okay. And do you plan to do some kind of awareness campaign or some kind of social media campaign or anything like that about it?
One, thank you for giving me this platform to talk about it. I don't know if it will twinge with anybody. I raise it a lot with other parents around me whose children I know are struggling with various things, right? Whether it's the anxiety of class 12 exams, or general anxiety, or peer pressure, or are prone to self harm, or not as mentally resilient as we would want them to be. But I think I definitely want to write more about it. I'm not a practitioner. It goes into the realm of medical interventions. But I think as an onlooker, and as a member of society, and there is enough documentation which talks about it, I should definitely blog about it, write about it, potentially raise it in my social media, and build a greater sensitivity around it.
Okay,
So thank
wonderful.
you for actually, even unboxing this for me, because it's been pushed back and behind of my mind. And I realized that maybe even if it helps one person, then why should I not? Yeah.
Yeah, if you have a blog or something which has considerable amount of audience, if you can
Yeah.
blog at least 5 to 10 minutes a day and create awareness about it, it'd be great. Um, so wonderful. So thank you so much for all your views and thoughts. Now, do you have any questions for me as the podcast host?
One question which I ask you, not as a podcast host, but I ask you as somebody who has interviewed a lot of people, somebody who's also a storyteller in his own right, and has been doing it professionally. Suppose I was to take this thought of linking mental wellness with nutritional deficiencies, what do you see as the best way of starting to open conversations around it and build some degree of awareness around it?
So, the best venue for doing that would be in the colleges, where there is young generation who is actually the target audience, to be frank, and also the numbers matter at the end of the day. If you have a hall and if you set up a meeting and only 10 or 20 people come by, it's kind of disheartening for you to do all the preparations and very few people show up. But if you set up such a meeting for a big audience, like in a college where some 100 or 200 students have assembled and you are giving a presentation, and if it makes an impact even in
Hmm.
5% or 10% of the
Send. Yeah.
total number of people who are attending, I think it's a success. I think we need to look for mass gatherings and where people are available and convey the messages there rather than doing it in closed settings or
Yeah. Or
uh,
with just the parents or something, it doesn't necessarily make a difference, right? It's important that ultimately the the children, the adolescents, or the young adults are the, how should I say, the consumers of the end product, right?
And believe me, they are so well informed and educated these days, and they ask a lot of questions about the things that we are educating them about, which is great.
I mean, it's something which I think is you know, I mean, everybody is talking about therapy and interventions and support groups, etc., etc. I do wish somebody would talk about, like, get your basic tests done, see if you are nutritionally deficient, and you will realize that how lack of certain nutrients adds to your anxiety. It makes you feel so anxious, gives you panic attacks, etc., because your nervous system is not regulated.
Even a regular blood test that we do on
Yeah,
a yearly
exactly.
basis.
Exactly. Exactly. It's as simple as that.
Thanks for
Yeah.
this input.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you for this wonderful conversation. I've had an absolutely wonderful time sort of revisiting my journey and, why I am enjoying what I am doing today. But also, I think we have owe some stuff to society and to give back in whatever way we feel strongly about it. I think it's a good reminder to myself, a note to myself that I should take this, not just keep this within myself, but take it out to a larger group.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for your views, and I wish you all the best in whatever you do and the things that you pursue. And thanks a lot again for appearing in the podcast. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Venkat. Bye bye. Bye.
That was a great podcast with Mansi Joshee. Please subscribe to this channel and follow it for more awesome podcasts. Opinions expressed by the guests in this podcast are their own. The host or the sponsors of the podcast do not condone the opinions expressed by the guests or the actions arising out of those opinions. Any decisions or actions that the listeners might take as a result of listening to this podcast must be based on their own judgment and will be at their own risk. The podcast host or their sponsors will not be held responsible for the consequences of any actions and or decisions taken as a result of any content in this podcast.